Hey friends, and welcome back. If you're new here, my name is Morgan and you are on my homestead here in Wyoming where we are kicking off week 3 of the Pantry Challenge. Now, normally I start my weeks on Monday. It is actually Tuesday evening. We have some super sweet friends that invited us over to their house for dinner last night. So we went over there and had a super yummy meal, got to catch up with them. It was awesome. So tonight we are going to get started and back on track with the Pantry Challenge. It's a little bit later than I like to get going on dinner. Normally I have things going, but I went ahead and took some time for myself, got a workout in. So this is my friendly reminder to you that even in the craziness of life, it is so important to get some movement in, take care of your health and your body, and make sure that you're checking in on yourself and go get some steps in today if you haven't already. So because I'm a little bit behind, that is no problem. We are still gonna eat, but we're gonna have a really simple dinner. I am going to make some elk quesadillas. It's gonna be that simple. We're gonna brown up some elk meat. I think I have an avocado. We have some jalapenos, some cheese, some sour cream. We're gonna whip together this dinner so fast. It's gonna be so simple and very, very yummy. While my beef is cooking up, I also wanna get some of our pumpkins freeze dried. We have a ton that you saw in our pantry tour. We have a ton of pumpkins down there and I want to get some of them freeze dried up so that I can give them as dog treats. Our dogs love pumpkins and so do our goats and chickens at that. So I figured I should freeze dry some of it, cut it up, freeze dry it. That way I have some yummy treats that are healthy for everyone throughout the year, and we're using our garden produce and making sure none of that goes to waste. So I'm going to get going on our quesadillas, then I'm going to freeze dry our pumpkin. Also, at the same time, I have a cucumber I want to freeze dry for tzatziki sauce for later down the road. And then I have some of our tomato skins and seeds that are from our processing day that I want to freeze dry as well because I want to make sure those aren't going to waste. So I'm going to get this all on trays, make sure we're getting this all cut down and put in the freeze dryer. And yeah, should be good. So I'm just making sure that I'm not wasting any time while my meat is browning. I'm still being productive. So let's go ahead and get that meat going. All right. You guys know the drill by now. First thing I'm going to do is just heat up some olive oil because elk is so lean. I'm going to heat up some olive oil and then we will get our meat browning. All right, let's get our, I lied, this is antelope. Let's get our antelope added in. And then I just have some onions that were already cut up. I'm just going to toss those in to make sure those don't go to waste. And then I just have my meat masher. We're going to get this all mashed up, browning, and it's going to be that simple. All right. So while that is getting going behind me, I'm going to start preserving up our pumpkins. And I cannot for the life of me remember the kind of pumpkin, what variety this is. So I have sweet meat, and then I grew this variety, but I have no idea what variety it is. But they did phenomenal. I think going into this winter, we had like 19 pumpkins. And these are definitely like the carving type of pumpkin. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna scoop out the seeds. I wanna make sure we're keeping those to give to the goats and the chickens as that natural dewormer. That's like the best part about pumpkins. And I'm not gonna freeze dry those. You could definitely keep the seeds for snacking as well. And we're not gonna go through all of the pumpkins, so there's a chance that we'll keep some seeds for ourselves on some of the others, but today I'm just trying to get these processed up. And luckily, this doesn't have to be perfect. The strings don't have to be all gone because this is just gonna be animal treats. Alrighty, so that's good to go. I do not wanna give them the stem because it's prickly. So I want to peel this because I know a lot of people whose dogs have trouble with the skin, digesting it. Let's see here. I'm not sure how well a peeler Well, okay, that works pretty dang well. I guess I'm just gonna take my peeler and peel the pumpkin. Now, if you feel comfortable leaving the skin on, definitely do that. But since we have a little puppy and Arrow doesn't have the strongest of stomachs, I'm going to take the peel off. It's not gonna be perfect by any means, but I think that will make it a little easier for them. And then I'll give these peels to the chickens. All right, this is coming along nicely. So it's not quite done, but I'm gonna add in some frozen corn. And we do have corn from the garden, but this was the one that's already open. Again, first in, first out, making sure we're managing our food. And so I'm going to use up our store-bought corn first. We'll let that come up to temperature. And then I have just this tiny bag of the rest of our poblanos from the garden this year. I'm going to dump those in as well. All right, we'll let this finish browning and come back up to temperature. All right, we're looking good over here. I want to now add in some seasoning, and on top of getting rid of and using up what we have in the freezer and pantry, I'm also trying to use up spices that I don't gravitate towards, and one of those is this Lowry's Carne Asada. It's actually really yummy. I just never gravitate towards it, so I want to make sure we're using that up. So I'm just going to toast that for just a minute in here, help bring out the flavors. And then just like tacos, I'm going to add in some water. Okay, I have this can of petite diced tomatoes, so we're just going to add some of that in as well. I wouldn't do like big chunk tomatoes. I would just do the petite for sure. Okay, that looks pretty good. I think we're gonna call that good. And then when Sam's home, we will get our quesadillas made up. All right, pumpkins are peeled. They're not perfect by any means, but I'm not worried. So now I'm just going to cut them into cubes. Tell you what, this is a workout. And we don't want them to be huge because they need to be laid below the tray line on the freeze dryer. So I'm just going to go through and get these all cubed up. And I think we'll probably have room for 2 pumpkins. I don't know, actually. So I'll run, my trays are downstairs with my freeze dryer, but I was gonna wait to run down to get the second pumpkin if needed along with the trays. So I'm gonna cut these up, see where we're at, and then we'll decide if we should do another pumpkin or just get the trays. All right, pumpkins are done. I actually think 1 pumpkin is going to be more than enough. And this cucumber doesn't look great on that side. So I'm going to go ahead and get going on my cucumber. And because this is a store-bought cucumber, I'm just gonna peel it, and it's not looking, I mean, it looks totally fine, but it's not the freshest cucumber in the world. So I'm going to peel it. So easy to peel after peeling that pumpkin. Holy moly. Okay. Then I just have my grater, and I'm just gonna grate all of my cucumbers. I wanna use this, one of you actually left this in the comments, and I thought it was such an awesome idea. And that is to freeze dry my leftover cucumbers or my garden cucumbers. And that way you can use it into tzatziki sauce for Greek food. If you were here for the first week of Pantry Challenge, we made gyros, and I love making homemade tzatziki sauce, but you have to kind of drain your cucumbers, and it takes a little bit of time because you don't want them to be super watery in your sauce. So by freeze drying it, that's not really a problem because you just add the freeze dried into your yogurt and it should be good to go. So I'm super excited to try that. I really appreciate your comments and just all of the help. I love that we're kind of in this together. We can all learn from one another. That's really what this is about. We're just building a community and I absolutely love it. Good enough. That'll go to the chickens. This will go on one tray. Our tomatoes will go on a tray and our pumpkin will go on the remaining 3 trays. All right, friends, we got our trays cleaned. I always leave them clean, but last thing I did on these was raw meat, so I just wanted to make sure that they were double cleaned. So I got these all sanitized, and now I'm going to start with my tomato pulp. So this is just the seeds and the skins left over from our tomato processing day, and you can see there was still some good tomatoes on there. So I want to freeze dry these and see if we can use it as tomato paste. I've heard that works really, really well, and I figured I have it. The machine's gonna run. I've got nothing to lose, right? Okay, then I'm gonna drain this. I can see some water building up, so I'm just gonna drain this really quick. Doesn't have to be perfect. Luckily, the freeze dryer helps us with that. It's hilarious how little room that takes up. Let's make sure we get all of our cucumber. And now I can start laying my pumpkin. So again, you just want to make sure, whoops, that it's not taller than the actual tray. We can lay it like touching each other. I can lay them really close, but I don't want it to be taller than the tray. So they can touch, I just don't want them on top of each other. And I think we'll be able to do more pumpkins, which is awesome, because if I'm gonna run the tray, or the machine, we may as well get as much processed per run as we possibly can. Our animals will love them, and it's nice to just kind of not get it off my chest, but it's just one less thing. Arrow, no. It's one less thing to manage. And I have the dogs both right here, so clearly they're excited for the pumpkin as well. And the reason I'm going to freeze dry this variety is because it's not the best for baking. It's pretty watery. We grew them because we wanted to carve them. So this was not the kind we were planning on eating. We have enough sweet meat to last us until next season. So we don't need any more pumpkins for eating. So I figured this would be perfect to go ahead and freeze dry, since it's going to work perfect. We don't really care what the water content is because the machine is going to take care of that for us. All right, so pumpkin and cucumbers and tomatoes are in the freeze dryer. So I just got a call from Sam. He is on his way home. So let's get going on our super, super simple cheese and meat quesadillas. So in my opinion, the best tortilla you can buy at the grocery store is these Tortilla Land raw tortillas. So you can see here, we just put them into a hot pan and cook up each side. And then as it begins to bubble on one side, flip it over. Sometimes you do have to push it down to pop some of the bubbles, or else they'll get really, really big. Then once the tortilla is mostly cooked, I will add in some cheese. I like to just do a little layer of cheese, and then on top of that, I will add in our meat mixture. What I like about doing quesadillas this way is if we just do the cheese, we tend to get hungry pretty quickly, and I don't feel like there's a ton of protein. So by adding in our own meat mixture and whatever vegetables we want, I feel like we're getting a more well-balanced meal. So this was Sam's. You can tell by the amount of meat that I'm adding in. He loves meat in his quesadilla. So I add my meat, then I just do one more layer of cheese just to help everything stick together. And then we just let it cook. We'll go ahead and add in the top layer. I like to push it down a little bit just so we can get the tortillas browned. We'll give it a good flip when it's ready. And just like that, our dinner is pulled together. And as you can see, my sweet sous chef, aka husband, jumped in and helped me finish off these meals. It's really, really nice because while I was getting the avocados mashed up and the sour cream out, he was watching the quesadillas on the stove. So the teamwork really just makes the job so much easier. So then we just take the quesadilla, split it into fourths. Then Sam added on some hot sauce along with some light sour cream and just some mashed up avocado, and that was dinner. What I love about these is you can really put anything in them. You can do just cheese, you could do barbecue chicken. The world really is your oyster when it comes to quesadillas, and that's what I love. Good morning, friends. We have a really busy day ahead of us. I have a full day of work. And then after work, I have an appointment in town. I'm getting my hair cut. And then after that, I'm gonna come back home and it's gonna be more than dinner time at that point. So because I have a busy day, I like to plan ahead. And so I'm going to do a crock pot meal. This is going to be so simple. We are going to do crock pot jambalaya today. So all I really have to do is take a lot of garden vegetables that we already have in the freezer, cut up some sausage. Right before I head into town, I'm going to throw some shrimp in there to get heated up, and then I will just make some rice when we get home. So this couldn't be any easier. I'm going to get dinner going. Let's get this jambalaya in our crock pot, just because I love to make dinner easy. This is how I like to plan ahead. And the best part about this is you could literally throw all of the ingredients in the crock pot the night before, put your crock pot in the base portion, the warm portion, in the morning, and plug it in, leave for the day, and you're ready to go. So this couldn't be any easier. Let's go ahead and get our jambalaya going for dinner. All right, so this is a total dump and go recipe. Couldn't be a whole lot easier. So I'm just going to dice up 1 onion, and I might just do half because I'm not doing a full half recipe, but kind of. You're supposed to use chicken, but again, we're going for quick and easy. In all honesty, I didn't want to deal with chicken. So we're just going to do shrimp and sausage. Let's take our lid off. Onion. And you know what? We love onion. Who am I kidding? So we have enough. Let's just use the full thing. Okay. Full onion. Into the crock pot. Next, let's cut up some sausage. Traditionally, you want to cut your onion last because it will make everything taste like onion. However, this is all going into a crock pot, so it's all going to have that onion taste. That's kind of what we're going for, so I'm not worried about it. And I'm going to cut these in half. Traditionally, you would want to use andouille sausage. These are just moose brats. And these do have jalapenos in them, so that'll be a nice little bit of spice. I don't know how many sausages I'm going to want. I was thinking 2 and then shrimp, but the whole kind of point of gumbo or jambalaya is the meat. Sam is a big meat eater. Let's start with that. We can always add more. Okay, then I'm going to dice up. These are just bell peppers from the garden that are frozen. And you're supposed to do red and green, but I only have green peppers left from the garden. So I'm just going to use the green. And these are I just pulled these out of the freezer. These are 100% frozen. That's literally how easy this is. And if you have kids, just make it not spicy, and kids love jambalaya. We have kids in the family that will down some jambalaya, so it's a good way to get some veggies in. Okay. Next, I just have some jalapenos frozen. If you have kids, don't add those in, but we like a little bit of flavor. Then I have some okra that we have from the garden, so I'm going to add that in. All right, then I have this half a can of diced tomatoes from last night. We'll add that in. Let's give it a nice stir just so we can see how things are looking. Oops. Then I'm going to add in a cup of chicken broth or so. And I think I'm going to cut up one more sausage. All right, I'm going to add in about 3 cloves of garlic. I'm going to eyeball about a tablespoon of Tony's. I think I'm going to top it with just a little bit more chicken broth, just because we don't have that chicken that would produce some juice. Let's give that a good stir. Smells really good. All right, lid on. This is going to go low for about 8 hours. So here's what my lunch is looking like that day, because it was a really busy day, and honestly most days this is what my lunch looked like. I love to use leftovers in a little bit of a different way just so I don't get tired of them. So here I just had some leftover sweet potatoes, and then I'm taking some of that quesadilla filling and I'm just going to mix that together and kind of create a little bowl out of it. I have my carb, I have a little bit of a vegetable in there, and my protein. Then I just microwave that, top it off with some hot sauce, and I have lunch. I love this because it's using leftovers in a new way so I don't get tired of it. All right, friends, I am back from town and I am so happy we did this crock pot meal. It's honestly just so nice knowing when I'm in town and I'm getting home late, it's almost 6 o'clock, that I am going to have dinner ready for me. So literally all we need to do, I added that shrimp before I left. All we need to do is get some rice going. So let's get our rice rinsed and cooking in the rice cooker, and this meal is ready to go. That simple. So I'm just going to use white rice for this. That's our favorite. And I like to do about 1.5 cups. And that's for 2 of us. Perfect. Let's give this a rinse. Okay, and I want to try, I always get my rice to really stick in my maker. I'm going to see if I spray it, if that will help. So now into the rice cooker we go, and then I just use that same measurer to measure out our water. In my rice cooker, and I think it's different for every rice cooker, I do a 1-to-1 ratio of water and rice. Just like that. Lid on, turn it to cook. I will see you when we are eating. So for serving traditionally, you would mix the rice into the actual jambalaya. However, I knew we weren't going to eat all of this, and I don't love it when the rice soaks up all of the liquid. So we went ahead and just served them separately. We laid the rice on the bottom and then the jambalaya on top. This did end up being a little bit more soupy than I would traditionally have it, but it was honestly so yummy and absolutely perfect. So here's a look at the final dish. Good morning. I am clearly not ready for the day, but I want to get going on some breakfast. And so I love oatmeal. I want to love baked oatmeal, but I don't. And the reason being, I feel like it's too dry and it's too heavy. And so I was thinking about this while I was laying in bed last night, and I thought, why don't I try making a blended oatmeal? So it's kind of like a batter instead of the actual oats, because I'm thinking that might lighten it up a little bit, because I love the amount of protein. I love that I can get some fruits in there, the fiber. I love all of that, but I just don't love how dense it is. So I want to try blending up some oats and seeing if that helps. So let's get going on making our baked oatmeal, but we're going to do a blended version instead. All right, so for these baked oats, first thing I want to do, throwing things. First thing I want to do is obviously blend up my oats. So I'm going to do, I don't know, 1/2 cup. Let's try that. And we want this to turn into kind of like a powder. Okay. So that's what we're looking like. It's basically like a flour. So to this, I'm going to add in 1/2 of a banana that was previously frozen that I just went ahead and defrosted. I'm going to crack in 1 egg. Again, here's that protein aspect that I love. Then I'm going to put a splash of vanilla. a little bit of salt. And then I have this coconut milk that's been in our fridge from last week that I want to use up. I don't want that going to waste, so I'm going to put in some coconut milk. Again, it's been in the fridge, so that's why there's some lump. Golly, I am clumsy today. It's been in the fridge, so that's why there's some lumps in it. But once that comes up to temperature, those will go away. Okay, let's blend this. My oven is preheated behind me at 350 degrees. Okay, we have like a batter that actually looks pretty dang good. I also want to throw in just a little bit of peanut butter. This is very exact measurements. I'm going to do that much peanut butter. Blend that in. You could throw in protein powder. I think the world's kind of your oyster with this. All right, that I think is good. Let's get the base out of our way. So I wasn't sure if this is gonna make one or two, just since I'm totally winging this, but I'm gonna spray this little dish just on the bottom so it doesn't fully stick. And I'm gonna pour that in. Okay, we'll just do one. If I don't finish it, we can always have leftovers. And then I'm going to give this a nice scrape. And this could be a total flop. This might just not work at all. All right, there's our situation. I'm going to put just a few, I have some mini chocolate chips down here. I'm gonna just put a few mini chocolate chips on top. And one thing I just realized I didn't add is sweetener, but that banana might be sweet enough. We can always add syrup or something later if needed. Okay. Here's our baked oatmeal. I'm gonna go put this in the oven at 350 degrees and we'll see how it goes. Okay, friends, here is the final product. I literally just took this out of the oven. I did not wait for it to cool down, but it's nice and solid on top. When I poke it, and this is like, she's heavy, so. Oh yeah, wow, it's like a cake in there. So there's the bite. It's very hot, so we're gonna get to this in a minute. All right, let's see how we did. That is a million times better than an actual baked oatmeal. It's the consistency of a very moist cake almost, where so is a baked oatmeal, but then I feel like you're chewing those pieces of oats and it's just like, it doesn't do it for me. This is very good. Wow. Yep, we're onto something here. I do think it needs a little bit of sweetener. So I might honestly just pour a little syrup over the top. I don't think I could eat more than half of this. Like it is dense, but that is so much better. Okay, beautiful. We solved the baked oatmeal crisis that I was having. I love the simplicity of a baked oatmeal, but it just wasn't doing it for me. This is doing it for me. Okay. I'm gonna go enjoy this. This is phenomenal. But this will be my lunch. So we have leftover jambalaya and rice. I know normally you mix the rice into jambalaya, but because I knew that there was gonna be leftovers, I knew there was no way we were gonna finish all of it. I don't like it when the rice gets really soggy and collects all of the liquid. To me, it just kind of dries out a little bit. So I like to keep my rice separate when I know there's gonna be leftovers. And we just mixed it in our bowls. So I'm gonna enjoy this for I'm gonna enjoy my baked oatmeal for breakfast. I'm gonna have this for lunch, and I will catch you when we are making dinner. And I think tonight is gonna be a pizza night. I was spot on. Pizza night it is. I love pizza night because it is so quick and simple. I always have pizza dough in the freezer. We made this together during one of our freezer meal prep days. You can go check that video out and I will link it above. But I find just keeping pizza dough in my freezer makes for one of the easiest dinners. I almost always have mozzarella cheese, some kind of toppings, and some kind of meat. And if we don't, there's nothing wrong with a simple mozzarella cheese pizza. So all I'm doing here is just rolling out the dough and getting it nice and flat. We like a thinner crust, especially on homemade pizza dough. So then I lay down some parchment paper and put some cornmeal down. This just helps keep it from sticking. I will assemble all of my pizza on this parchment paper. And at the same time, I just have cookie sheets in the oven warming up. The oven is preheating to 500 degrees and the cookie sheets are in there preheating with it. I find that that just makes for a nice crispy crust, which is sometimes hard to achieve when you're making homemade pizzas. Then I'll go ahead and stab the dough with a fork many times just so that it can get some venting and some holes in it, which also helps make a crispy crust. Then I'm just opening up one of my pizza sauces. We made this pizza sauce together on our tomato harvest and preservation day. This is so good. I absolutely love this pizza sauce and we'll be making it year after year. But I'm just going to spread that down lightly. I like to keep a little bit of a crust because I love to put honey on the bit of crust that's left over. Then we're just going to top it with some toppings. Here I have just a little bit of yellow onion that I've diced up. I also am putting down some bell peppers that I've diced up as well. If we had black olives, I would have added those too, but we didn't have them, so we're just working with what we have. Then I like to add just a little layer of cheese just to help some of those small items from running away. So I add down my layer of cheese, and then I'm going to go in with my mushrooms. And I've been getting a lot of questions about these mushrooms. So what I do is I just wash my mushrooms, I slice them up, and then I put them into a gallon bag and freeze them. That way we always have mushrooms ready to go anytime we need, which is perfect for pastas and pizzas, burgers, you name it, you can use these. We absolutely love doing that because I find that sometimes one container of mushrooms is just a little bit too much for two of us. So this helps us reduce that waste. Then I'm going in with some pepperoni. Also, pro tip on homemade pizza, if you get the nice pepperoni from the deli section, it will make a world of difference on your pizza. They are a million times better than just the little prepackaged pepperonis. So I definitely encourage you to go to the deli section and get the nice pepperoni. Then I just have some of our canned pickled jalapenos from this year's garden. We're just going to lay a good amount of those down on top of the pepperoni. And finally, I am adding some artichoke hearts. I love to just take a few artichoke hearts, kind of separate them a little bit so you don't get a huge bite of artichoke, and put those on our pizzas as well. It's kind of our secret ingredient. Then I'm just going to add some mozzarella on top, and that is how we are going to finish off these pizzas. Then I will just take that preheating cookie sheet out of the oven, put that on the stove, and then I like to live on the edge, so I will carry my parchment paper across the kitchen and put it on the cookie sheet. I hold my breath every time, and every time I think, this is so silly, I should just bring the cookie sheet over to me, but I don't know, maybe one day when I dump a pizza on the floor, I will learn, but for now, this is just how I do it. Then I like to just take the corners off of the parchment paper just to keep them from burning, and then into the oven these go for a few minutes. Again, I cook these at 500 degrees for as long as they need to just be a solid, sturdy bottom and a brown, crispy top, and there is our final product. I will make 2 of these, and that will leave us with enough leftovers for a lunch. Good morning, friends. It is Monday morning. We had such a fun weekend. We had friends in town that came to visit. So we went duck hunting 2 days with them and honestly just ate burritos and muffins for the weekend. We went out for dinners and it was so fun to just get to see our friends. So we are starting Monday off a little bit different, but I did want to give us one final little hoorah for our Monday breakfast, and then I'll be catching dinner in next week's video. So because we've been eating not the best, not the healthiest, but really yummy, I wanted something kind of fresh this morning, and I still have a few fresh clementines. I have learned that if you just keep a bag of clementines in the refrigerator fruit drawer. I got them the last day of December, and it is the 22nd of January, and they are still holding so strong. No problems with those, our apples or our grapefruit. So we're looking good there. But I'm just going to make kind of like an Orange Julius inspired peach and orange type of smoothie for breakfast. So I'm gonna put in some milk. We're about out of this container. And then I just have this packet of protein. You can put whatever kind of protein in that you like. I just had this in the pantry. I'm gonna throw that in. And then these are our Palisade peaches that we preserved up this summer. I don't know why I couldn't think of that word. So I'm gonna put a good amount of those in. And I think I'm finally, oh, come on, break. Okay. I think I'm finally creating a smoothie because it is so beautiful outside. It had been in the negatives for so darn long, and we are finally in beautiful weather. I'm gonna add just a little bit of agave for sweetener. It is about 40 degrees out right now, which January in Wyoming is just unheard of. So I feel like it's summer outside. I'm feeling so blessed. So we're gonna celebrate with a peach and orange smoothie. All right, I'm gonna put the lid on, and I don't need to add ice because those peaches were frozen. They're gonna kind of act as our ice. And my blender does have a smoothie setting. So I'm gonna set that there, and then we're gonna get this mixing. I'm gonna pour in just the rest of this milk just to make its life a little bit easier. Okay, let's finish mixing that up. All right, this is beautiful. All right, and there we have our perfect peach and orange smoothie. That is so good. I love freezing fresh fruit in the summer when it is just at its peak because I can enjoy it all year round. Like Palisade peaches are a hot commodity if you live in like Wyoming or Colorado. Everyone knows how darn good they are. And so being able to have those in my freezer to enjoy throughout the winter is a real blessing. So I'm going to enjoy this smoothie. I will catch you all next week for dinner. But I appreciate all of you being here. This week was, I wouldn't say this week was a huge challenge, but it's starting to get a little bit harder just because we are pretty much out of fresh produce. We do have more oranges, we have more apples, and we have a couple grapefruit and a cabbage. Beyond that, we do have our squashes and our pumpkins, so there's a lot that we can do there. But it is getting a little bit harder. So I am excited for next week where we can start challenging ourselves. This is going to be the end of week 3. We'll be going into week 4 this evening. And so I'm just really looking forward to it. If you guys have any recipe suggestions or things that you love to cook when food starts running low, please let me know. I would love to hear it. We have a ton of frozen veggies, a ton of frozen meat, potatoes, onions. We're looking just fine around here, but it does start getting a little bit harder not having, lettuces and avocados. I would have put spinach in this if I had it, but I don't. So nothing wrong with that. I'm really, really enjoying this. And I just appreciate you following along on this fun journey. Again, if you have any recommendations, put them down in the comments. If you liked today's video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe if you haven't already, and I will catch you all in the next one. Thank you so much for being here. Bye, friend.